IVM.
Close your eyes for a moment and imagine. What would you be doing today had it not been for your day-to-day responsibilities of meeting work deadlines and making sure your family is financially secured? Would you have been a footballer, kicking the ball around on those grassy grounds? Or would you have been an artist, sitting near a window overlooking the hills as you paint away? Maybe you crave to be a photographer. But here you are, framing a picture of the life you wish you had. But this can still be a reality. करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे. SBI Life अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए. To know more about our insurance plans with wealth creation, log on to www.sbilife.co.in. IRDAI registration number 111.
Hey guys, IVM Podcast is turning 7. Can you believe it? It's been an awesome journey for me specifically. I was a guest on Karthik Nagarajan's podcast Filter Coffee to start off proceedings. Then, I started doing my own podcast, which was called The Traveling Professor's Diary, and then it's transformed into Smarter With Sid. I've done about more than 220 odd episodes along with IVM, and it's been such an awesome journey for me with these wonderful folks. I can't wait to see what the next 7 years brings for all of us. Here's your smart fact of the day. Did you know that International Women's Day was started in Soviet Russia of all places when women started to protest against their inability to vote all those years back? I think sometime in 1917 or something. And that's where International Women's Day actually started. What a strange, wonderful story, isn't it? As a teacher, I'd love to look at stories like this surrounding International Women's Day and understand its true importance. Now, let me explain what I mean as a teacher. So, as a teacher, obviously the subjects that I teach are around marketing, customer experience design, branding, and so on and so forth, which observe changes in reality. So, whenever I'm actually sharing with a class or having a learning experience with my class, it is based on the way in which society has actually moved. And when we see communication, advertising, marketing, influencer movements, and the rest of it being discussed in class, and trust me, I've not just started teaching, I have been teaching for 20 years. It is clear to see the growing acceptance that at least the way in which women's contributions towards society are being acknowledged. Of course, it is small potatoes and we have just made baby steps towards it. But the way in which these examples are coming in class, the way in which these movements are talked about, whether it's the Me Too movement or whether it is, everything surrounding Women's Day, including the Women's Day advertising that happens on Women's Day, is overall, I think, quite a positive perspective. Of course, I have a small quibble with the fact that most brands just hop onto the bandwagon. Now, whether it's Women's Day or any other day, they just hop onto the bandwagon and try to claim it as their own. And I don't think that is necessarily the way to go ahead. I think women or general in society don't want lip service. They don't certainly want to be only celebrated for International Women's Day. While it is extremely meaningful and important for them, I'm sure, I think the way in which I would look at it as a teacher is, why do brands only concentrate on that one day and make such a big hoo-ha out of it? Why not actually do some more meaningful contributions and have a conversation that their brand has about women across the year, especially if it's a women-centric brand? I fail to understand why more brands don't do this. I think it's extremely important for brands to realize that they are part of an ongoing conversation with their target groups. And, if you want to talk about a particular day or a particular movement, or you want to connect to a particular cause, will sure celebrate, that particular day or that, particular cause on the day that it's supposed to be celebrated, but do something across the rest of the year. I guess that's one thing that I would certainly mention. Maybe some brand will take me seriously. I'm hoping so, at least. The second perspective that I have got as a teacher is, I've just observed over the last 20 years how my classroom has changed. See, in my classroom, whether whatever your gender may be, whatever your sex may be, eventually a student is a student is a student. And I guess we all celebrate in the classroom a great idea or a great thought or a great contribution, and we kind of diss the stupid ideas and the stupid, contributions. This is something called direct or desperate class participation, which everyone, at least in the institutes that I teach, know the desperation towards participation in class because it counts for some marks. But I'm digressing. If you look at all the contributions that are made by women in my classrooms, and I've taught for 20 years, I've seen those contributions only increase. I've seen women become more forthright, more erudite in their discussions, more confident in their opinions, and just adding a different dimension to all of my classes. I think the kind of value add that happens because of the fact that there is about 50% representation of women in my classrooms, if not more, is just fantastic, because you just get a completely different perspectives than what you used to get. And trust me, 20 years back, it was the case. I mean, the perspectives have changed. And that's what I'd love to celebrate. As a teacher in my classroom, I'm celebrating this. Of course, again, I'm talking about institutions that I'm teaching in, and I'm talking about perhaps a set of students who are lucky enough and privileged enough to be part of these institutions. But still, it's always good to see and celebrate small change, isn't it? The third thing that I'd like to say is, if we have to celebrate the women of tomorrow, because that's the theme of 2022, then I need not go any further from my classroom, because the women of tomorrow are part and parcel of my classroom. And when they step out in the real world, with their new jobs or with their post graduation dreams, they're going to come across a world which is changing, hopefully for the better for them. That's at least what I would wish for them. But still, they're going to have their battles, and they're going to have their battles on a daily basis. And the moment us as a society, and especially us as men, start recognizing the fact that the battles that are there for each woman of tomorrow is something that we just need to acknowledge. But that doesn't mean that they need our help, they need our support beyond a point. They just need our acknowledgement. I think these strong women of tomorrow are going to take the world on and turn it upside around. I'm hoping and praying that women leaders in the world do a much better job than all the men in the world who seem to be leading their countries into bloody war as we speak at this point in time, when you have one European Union nation kind of attacking the other, and stuff like that. I don't want to make any political comments, and nor do I want to make comments on women wearing some religious dress and getting into a classroom. As a teacher, I don't care what you wear. I just care about your mind and the ideas and your contributions in your classroom. And I think women of tomorrow are best represented by two sets of people in my life. The first set of people, as I've mentioned, are my students, and the second set of people are my daughters. And I've seen their careers just rise and rise and rise. They are social media influencers who happen to influence a very strong set of people who have just created a sisterhood around whatever they're doing. So both Sarah and Avni, who happen to be iconic cakes on Instagram and on TikTok, are fairly representative of the kind of women that I want to see in my tomorrow. Those women who have the ability to change anybody's perspective and anybody's ability to look at the world in a different way just by being themselves. And just that is cause enough to celebrate the women of tomorrow on International Women's Day for this year 2022, from my perspective, from a teacher's perspective. I can go on about the women who have inspired me. People like Hedy Lamarr, who was this wonderful, iconic Hollywood actress, but who was also an inventor and an innovator. Or I could talk about who Heather Heying is, who's written a wonderful book on evolution and its impact in today's day and age. Or I could talk about Meryl Streep, who's probably the finest actor that I've ever seen perform on screen. But those are women who have fought their battles, and who are, while they're still, some of them are still very much alive and fighting their battles. I would say that even they would agree that the women of tomorrow are the ones who are Gen Zers, maybe younger millennials, who have the world outside. And I'm just hoping and praying that they have the best possible chance to make the world their own. I hope you like this episode of Smarter with Sid. Many more to come from where this came from. If you like the podcast, do like this or subscribe to my podcast. And if you like podcasts like these, well, I think you should go for the IVM podcasts portfolio of podcasts that's out there. And hey, if you like me, I'm the Traveling Professor, and I'm on LinkedIn and on Instagram. Ciao then.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, foodpreneur and chef Saransh Goyla joins Varun to talk about his latest venture, Bombay Meal Rolls. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam speaks to Ashwin Patni, head product and alternatives at Axis AMC. They discuss the LSS investing in India. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth highlights lessons we should all learn from the Tinder swindler documentary. On Tere Mere Raste, Keshav takes us on a tour of Dubai's grand malls. And on Say No to Drama, Chetna talks about our relationship with money. So, on a personal note, I wanted to let you all know that this week marks the 7th anniversary since I started IVM. I'm eternally grateful to the team we have here, especially Kavita Rajwade and Tejas Sringarpure, who have been here since the beginning. They've seen the struggles, our eventual acquisition by Pratilipi, and our continued struggles to make podcasting a large and thriving part of the media industry. We have the best hosts in the world, and I have to say that I'm so glad and so grateful that they have chosen to work with us. And finally, I'd like to say thank you to you, the millions of folks who have heard or watched our content. All I can say is, you ain't seen nothing yet. I hope you join us as we continue this journey. In the meanwhile, do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platform you're listening to. You can also check us out on YouTube. To get a list of all of our channels, you can go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube, where you can go to all the channels. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week: SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, Max Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and HDFC Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
We know you love fast food,
fast fashion,
faster payment,
lightning fast internet speed.
Then why not fast information?
On Think Fast, where we discuss the latest developments in the world of technology, business, marketing, pop culture.
With a side of sarcasm and my dad jokes, not just mine.
Not mine, Varun. My jokes are funny. So join me, guys, the funnier one, Suchita Salvan, co-founder of LBB.
And me, Varun Dugirala, the co-founder of The Glitch, as we think fast only on the IVM network.
Fresh episodes out every Monday.
On the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.